11th of the 3rd, 2020, and this upload is a continuation of the daily experiences I'm having. Human rights violations in Tralee, County Kerry, I never thought would be occurring. But as I said, since I married a property owner and gave birth to a beautiful child, all of that has changed because of the individuals that have been responsible for property theft, financial theft, defamation, etc., etc. As I've said, the same individuals have been guilty of offences between 2003 and 2005 and 2005 onwards that involve defamation and sexual assault. These people have been facilitated and have been assisted in these human rights violations. So there's a very serious issue of injustice occurring. The legal violations I've experienced are deliberate, simply due to my marital rights and my property rights and children's rights, etc., etc. This issue has also involved very serious defamation, as I've mentioned, about mental health, which I find particularly insulting as a member of the fellowship since 2006. So these people have decided to impose in my married life, my professional life, my recovery, etc., etc., and have not actually confronted me, consulted me, or even checked the validity of their outrageous defamatory statements. So the authorities in Tralee, County Kerry should know my background as a law-abiding citizen, not ever been involved in any criminality, as I keep reiterating, a teacher being violated as a consequence of revenge porn. So the authorities are aware of this situation, um, this victimization that's going on, and the harassment that I've experienced, and the scaremongering that people are perpetrating for their agendas of my marital property and issues surrounding children's rights as well, is all very serious. As a light worker, as I've mentioned, there's been my light body that has been destroyed, and there has been exposure about my personal life and my spirituality and exploitation with regard to my spiritual gifts. As a deserted wife, unsupported, whose legal rights have been violated, that has experienced a deliberate obstruction of justice and people imposing and harassing me from my marital home, my family home, and to be currently experiencing defamation and people that don't even live with me making unsubstantiated comments, claims, and reports. This is a very dangerous situation for society. The people endangering society, thieving property, um, wealth, damaging health, conducting unethical practices with regards to their research and development, etc., etc., just shows how dangerous a situation these people have caused. So, my victim impact statement, as I've said, was as accurate as possible and still hasn't been acknowledged adequately. So, I'm just wondering who's withholding my postal correspondence from me. I have not received my post in the past 2 years, and I find that particularly unusual. So these are the matters that are occurring ongoing basis. Authorities, um, I'm surprised that this kind of injustice and discrimination and financial theft and property theft, etc., etc., would be in any way ever facilitated. As regards the spiritual aspects of this situation, the damage done has been quite serious. Um, but I think I've pretty much discussed that clearly and obviously enough for people locally and those that have been involved to understand the implications when innocent life, in particular, be it young or old, that have been violated spiritually, whose light bodies have been damaged, um, as that has happened in this town between 2017 and 2018, and as I'm experiencing up to this present date, all has implications. So, as regards the financial theft I've experienced, absolutely outrageous. Defamation, the obstruction of justice. I'm just hypothesizing, but I'm wondering, are there any individuals that would ever facilitate another person being referred to as a prostitute when they've worked as a teacher all their lives? I'm wondering, people discrediting another person's mental health without actually knowing them, and rehashing fabricated tales that are closed chapters. I'm wondering about the people that have involved themselves in this situation and their mental health, and the very serious accusations that they have been making. So these are the kind of things that people are doing in this community. I'm in an apartment, as I've mentioned, a state county council apartment, and still to this day, I'm being violated and imposed upon by individuals that have intruded upon my marriage, that think they're in a position to make judgments or comments about my marital status, that have been responsible for very serious children's rights violations, I might add as well, and the spiritual violence, involved in all of that also. So that's the situation for the 11th of the 3rd. I hope the authorities understand how serious this all is, and those that are guilty of these violations of human rights and children's rights, I wonder, have they understood the implications to the violation of freedom that they don't obviously seem to be able to respect, but seems as there's property theft involved and very serious defamation, etc., etc., etc. I'm wondering, are the UN agencies aware of the the consequences of exposing the personal life of a private citizen that has been violated and victimized, and that has overcome very serious situations due to these kind of culprits? So, what are the authorities and the politicians doing to confront these problems? And as for the antisocial behaviour that they have caused as a consequence since 2017, I'm just curious as to what is happening with justice these days, because what I've experienced is quite unjustifiable, and it's an ongoing issue. So those violating, that think this is amusing or entertaining, I take great offence to people stealing my wealth from me, my health, my property, my family, and all of those things come with heavy burdens for the future as well. So this has been brought to the attention of the authorities, victim support groups, etc. Are you continuously ignoring this issue to facilitate the perpetrators? And justice, does it not have any significance at all when it comes to children's rights and women's rights?